You remember Game Boy as the winner, but the machine that should have frightened Nintendo was Atari Lynx. In 1989, it arrives with a backlit color screen, hardware scaling, sprite stretching, and enough raw swagger to make the Game Boy look ancient on the shelf. The Lynx starts life somewhere stranger than most people realize. Its bones come from Epyx, the California company behind California Games and Summer Games. They call the prototype Handy, which sounds modest until you see what it can do in a room full of black and white handhelds. This thing feels imported from a more expensive future. It has a wide body, a color LCD, stereo sound through headphones, and a processor setup that sounds almost absurd for a portable. It even lets you flip the controls for left-handed play, which still feels oddly generous now. If you stand in a toy store in late 1989, the sales pitch almost writes itself. Nintendo gives you pea-green monochrome and simple charm. Atari gives you moving color, bigger sprites, and arcade energy. The Lynx looks like a machine designed to embarrass anything sitting near it. And at first glance, it does. Blue Lightning screams speed. California Games fits the brand perfectly. Chip's Challenge becomes the sort of smart, sticky game that makes a handheld feel personal. The Lynx proves the concept. Portable gaming can look richer and feel less compromised. The trouble begins the second you stop staring at the screen and start living with the object. The Lynx is big, really big. It resembles a small piece of car dashboard more than something you slip into a jacket. In your hands, it feels serious. In your backpack, it feels demanding. Then come the batteries, 6 AAs. Under normal use, you can drain them in roughly 4 to 5 hours, sometimes less depending on volume and game. That stat lands like a little tax on every trip. A handheld stops feeling magical when you are already thinking about the next battery purchase. Nintendo understands a quieter truth about late 80s portable life. Kids are in cars, on school buses, in living rooms, in shared family spaces, and often nowhere near a fresh stack of batteries. The Game Boy runs much longer on 4 AAs. It asks less from parents and less from your pocket. Price sharpens everything. The Lynx launches around $179.95 in the United States. Game Boy comes in lower, and more importantly, it often comes bundled with Tetris. That matters. One machine asks you to admire technology. The other hands you a game so immediate that adults keep stealing turns. Tetris is the hidden knife in this whole story. It makes the Game Boy feel universal in a way technical specs never can. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to defend the screen. A few falling blocks and the sale is halfway done before anyone discusses processors. Carries a different burden. The company name still means something, but by 1989, it means several contradictory things at once. For some adults, Atari is a beloved pioneer. For retailers and investors, it can also signal instability, old battles, and a brand trying to reclaim a future it no longer controls. That matters on the shelf. Nintendo arrives with momentum, confidence, and a tight grip on software licensing. Atari arrives with flashes of brilliance and a thinner cushion for mistakes. If a kid wants one big gift, stores and parents lean toward the machine that seems certain to exist next year. The Lynx also suffers from timing inside timing. Color sounds irresistible in ads and in quick demos. But early color LCDs are dim, costly, and hungry. You are paying for a feature that still carries penalties in 1989, just not at a comfortable price. And the machine itself keeps sending mixed signals. The industrial design is bold, almost aggressive. Some people love that spaceship bulk. Others see a brick with buttons. Handhelds live close to the body. They ride in your hands, your lap, your bag. Ergonomics become destiny faster than brochures admit. Still, this is where the story gets painful. The Lynx is not some empty tech flex with no soul. It has real personality. It gets Gates of Zendocon, Electrocop, Warbirds, Slime World, Todd's Adventures in Slime World, and later a sharp little library full of oddball confidence. It even supports multiplayer through the Comlinks cable. Up to 8 systems linked together in some cases. Picture that for a second in 1990. A portable machine making social play feel futuristic, before most people have seen a local network outside an office. Hardly anyone remembers that ambition now. There's another twist hidden under the casing. The Lynx hardware is designed by members of the same Amiga-adjacent engineering culture that keeps chasing elegant technical solutions. Nicknamed Susie and Mikey. Handle graphics and sound in ways that sound almost overqualified for a portable toy aisle. But overqualified hardware needs software discipline and corporate stamina. Atari has neither in steady supply. Release schedules wobble. Marketing lacks clarity. Third-party support never hardens into the unstoppable river Nintendo builds around Game Boy. A great machine without dependable software starts feeling lonely very quickly. That loneliness grows in public. You can still find magazine coverage praising the color screen and the horsepower. But praise turns slippery when the game lists stay short. A handheld is a promise machine. People buy the library they imagine owning later. Nintendo sells that future more convincingly. Then Sega enters with the Game Gear, which sounds like it should finish the Lynx off, and somehow helps explain it instead. Game Gear repeats some of the same mistakes. Color, battery appetite, higher price, larger form. Sega survives the comparison better, because its software identity is stronger, and its global distribution machine is louder. So the Lynx gets squeezed from both sides. Game Boy owns endurance, price, and cultural ubiquity. Game Gear claims a chunk of the color spectacle. Atari is left defending a machine that was early in the wrong ways and late in the ways that matter. You can feel the oxygen leaving the room. By 1991, Atari redesigns it as the Lynx 2. It is smaller, somewhat better on battery life, and easier to like physically. This version makes the original seem like a rough draft with expensive habits. But redesigns only work when the market is waiting for your return. By then, habits are already set, and habits are the real villain here. People like to retell hardware history as a meritocracy where the best screen, best chip, or baldest engineering wins. The pre-internet marketplace is messier and more human. Parents choose reliability. Kids choose familiar logos. Retailers choose confidence. Developers follow installed bases. So the Lynx becomes one of those objects that now feels almost haunted. Hold it today and you can still see the argument. Better graphics, smarter features, more daring design. Yet the winner of portable gaming is the machine that understands boredom, battery drawers, lunch breaks, and family budgets with colder precision. That is the part that lingers with me. The Atari Lynx does many things right, maybe even too right for its own moment. It arrives carrying tomorrow's handheld dream into a world still organized around compromise. Tell me one nostalgic thing nobody talks about anymore.